So, good afternoon. This
Yeah.
is our course today is Application Development and Emerging Technologies. I'm Dr. Ana Romina Miguel, and I am your OLC. Actually, I am your OLC for all the application development and emerging technologies. So do you have any idea of CodeIgniter? CodeIgniter, this is an application framework. Now, you have an idea of application? Do you see, sorry, I haven't asked. Do you see my screen?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, so that's good. So do you see application development framework? I already get the meaning of it so that I will not so that you will be able to understand also. This is a software library. So what does it do? It provides fundamental structure for what? Supporting development of application for a specific environment. So when you say application framework, it's just a software library. Okay? Application framework are used not only for GUI, graphical user interface, but also for web-based application. Is that clear to you? When you say
Yes,
application
ma'am.
framework, it's software library. When you say it's also for development, not only for GUI, but also for web-based application. Now, what do you mean by framework? So it's a platform for developing software applications. Okay. So when you say platform, for example, it includes predefined classes and functions that can be used to process the input, manage hardware devices, and interact with system software. Now, you can say sometimes because we always interchange things like subject, course, like desktop, CPU. So we are fond of interrelating things. So framework is somewhat similar to API, Application Programming Interface. Though technically it includes, and a framework also includes an API. So what does it suggest? Foundation for programming. Framework serves as foundation for programming, while API provides access to the elements supported by framework. So that's very clear. Framework serves as foundation for programming. It makes your life easier. What am I talking about? You're aware of XAMPP, right? This is what I'm talking about, the XAMPP. So what I'm saying is, when we're talking about the framework, it serves as a foundation for programming, while an API provides access to the elements supported by a framework. So this one, when we when you are going to be using this one, this is what I'm saying. If you have different softwares that you're going to use, programming Apache, PHP, MySQL. So if you're going to use them, you're going to install them one by one. You have to set them up, configure them. So I will give this to you so you can try. But the one I showed you, the XAMPP, now will definitely give you whatever it is that is included. It included, wait a minute, I will show you. As I told you, with XAMPP, where's that XAMPP? With XAMPP, with this one, You already have your Apache, MySQL, if you want, because I don't need FileZilla, Mercury, and Tomcat, all of them, if you install XAMPP in your computer, it's already incorporated. You just do a minor tinkering or configuration, setting up to cater whatever is your need. So my question is, do you have XAMPP in your computer? Because in order to run the CodeIgniter, it is easier if we have XAMPP, if we have PHP and MySQL all together, and then that's the time we will install CodeIgniter. Okay, so Mr. Islam, do you have XAMPP?
Which version, ma'am?
Whatever version it is. If you have, then it will work out just fine. But
All right.
In PHP, you should have at least 7.4 or 7.2 higher, the latest, okay, for CodeIgniter. And MySQL later, it's already included in XAMPP. So do you have these two? When we come back, I'm going to teach you because when for the first time you're going to be installing your XAMPP, there is the UAC, user account controls. Most of the time, if you're going to install it in your drive C, UAC will be causing some problems because you need to turn it off. Now, it is not recommended, but if you have other drives, it's better you install your sum to that other drive. Is that okay? So
Uh,
do you know
Ma'am,
with
I
what?
only have an SSD. I do not have anything else. I only have one drive,
Oh, no
one
problem
main
then.
Windows drive.
Then in that case, anak, we have to turn off your UAC. Do you know how to turn off your UAC? Using the registry, local machine.
Eh, yeah. I know. It probably wouldn't be too hard.
Yes. It's just this minor things that we ignore, and this will cause us more problem when we are already coding. Okay.
So while I am installing this, I should first disable the UAC, right?
Yes po. Yes po. So that,
All right.
for example, you download SAMP, and when you install it and no message of error or no error message will be shown, then no problem. Just continue, okay? Then after that, you do the PHP, and after the PHP, we will install the code igniter, okay?
All right,
Is
ma'am.
that clear? So we will just wait for this to end, and please log in again so that we will be able to continue our lecture. So for this time, I just want to make sure that all the necessary software are installed. Then after that, on our next meeting, we will do more coding, more programming on CodeIgniter. You will learn where to put it, the create, the view, and where the system, the public. So we're going to learn all of that. But for now, I just want to make sure that everything is in order. Is that okay with you? This can you see now the where you're going to download the code igniter? It's in our LMS, right? So in
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
so this is where we're going to be doing it in the application. So this screen should be seen, and once it's seen, it means to say you installed your code igniter correctly. As long as we don't see this, it means it's not successful. Okay, so this is um, the command interface. You should know MVC. It stands for model, view, and controller. So view is just a normal web page that you can see, and controller, this is where the resources for access and to generate the web page. and the model is the data structures. So for the functions, retrieve, insert, and update. So that will be later. The first thing we're going to be studying is the view and the controller. Okay. So these are the explanation. In the OSI level, we have 7. In CodeIgniter, they have 3. They have the business logic layer, which is the controller, the views, presentation layer, and models, which is for data access layer. Now, when you the CodeIgniter has 3 main folders. As I told you, there is application, system, and user guide. So when you download it, mostly it depends because CodeIgniter has so many versions. So the best thing for you is to get the latest version. And that is, as of now, 4.4.0.4. Okay? So in here, the code application user. So, and the good thing about the CodeIgniter, it has its own documentation, which is very complete and very comprehensive. It's easy to understand, but because if you don't have programming experience, it will be very hard. But we will try to overcome that. I will try to help you. Okay. So in here in application, we have the config. This is where the configuration we're going to change in accordance to what we need, the controllers, okay, and the views. So all your views will be saved in here. So what am I talking about? So these are the you can read that in here, okay, module 2. Now, CodeIgniter. So this is how once it is installed, the first thing we have to do is create views. Now, where are we going to save it? What are we going to be using? Well, it's PHP. Definitely, we're going to be using editor. So you can use any text editor you like. You can use Sublime, you can use Notepad++, or whatever it is, or a simple Notepad. That's no problem. So what is being used here is Sublime. So the latest, I think, is Text 3 or something. So this is where you're going to create your PHP file. There are 2 things. For your views, you can use HTML or you can use PHP. When we print in PHP, we use echo or we use print. Okay, when we use echo, it's more, you can, its functionality, it's bigger than print. Print is just one time. With echo, you can print multiple. Okay, so when we say, I told you, you will go to application, you will save this one. Anak, I assume you know how to use HTML, right? So this, our title head is using lesson. So you just type this in your editor, text editor, whatever it is you're using, it doesn't matter. And then you will save it. So we will make a file in edit text editor. So we have, let me share this one. The first thing we do, we're going to make for the views. So we go to, yeah, so we do the HTML thing. And the head. So this is how you're going to do because it's going to take some time. So you do what is in your LMS. Okay. And you will see in here, when you done this, where are you going to save that? You're going to save that in your application folder under views. Where is this? In your CodeIgniter. Now, let me show you where is that. Yeah, I put mine since I am the same like you. I only have one drive. It's drive C, and it's in my XAMPP. Okay, so I will see in here. So you can see this is my drive C. Okay, I have here, I installed my XAMPP in there. And where do you put your documents, resources that you're going to be using in XAMPP? You will put it in your HT documents. Okay, and then I put it here in my CodeIgniter. This is where I extracted the files that I got from CodeIgniter.com in the LMS. And here you will see I have app, I have system, and I have public. So these are mostly the three folders that we're going to use. And when you open the app, you will see there is views. So this is where you will save your file. Now, you will let it, since it's a text editor, I know you know this, that when you're going to save it in different programming languages, if it's HTML, that HTML or whatever, but for PHP, it's that PHP as you can see in here. Okay, so let's go back. That is the CodeIgniter. So here, let me go back. So you see, we have the same that we only have drive C because my drive D is just 800 plus MB. So I put my XAMPP in there, and where will I put the one that I downloaded? It's CodeIgniter. In CodeIgniter, now you there are so many. So I am assuming that you can install XAMPP. If you have problem, you can call me, and you can message me XAMPP and PHP. So with CodeIgniter, you can install them in three ways. So let's do, since it's new, let's do the easiest. Download the framework and unzip the file. So where are you going to download it? It's in codeigniter.com. So the other was, after we are already used to it, we can go to Composer, and Composer is also a dependency for PHP. Okay, so these are the things that sometimes happens for CodeIgniter. When you installed it wrong, I will inform you. That's why I wanted to walk you through. You have to add this in one of the configuration. That is in the system folder of CodeIgniter, and you will open the file of PHP CodeIgniter, and you will just look for this one for initialize and change that because there's something wrong about that. Okay, so in here, so this is what I'm saying about the variables. You know, anak, about the path, instead of just going back, typing the path, you can set it permanently and you will set it in variables. So how do you do that? Go to System, right click on Windows, go to System, and then you will see in here System, and click Advanced Settings and go to go to Environment. Have you installed your XAMPP? Okay.
Yeah, I'm installing it right now. It gave me the smart screen stuff, but I disabled the smart screen anyways. The
Did you
Windows
restart?
smart screen.
Did you restart after you
No,
disable
I
the
didn't.
UAC? You have to restart an app in order for the UAC to be disabled. It's
What's the
disabled.
function of the UAC?
It's a user account settings, you know, whatever it is that you want. They will be allowed to do this. They can write. In other words, if you have others that are using or going to be using your computer, or you have guests, because it's sometimes there are other users in your computer. So this is for their settings. It's like authentication levels that you will allow them to write, to read, to share. That is the function of UAC. Okay?
So if I'm not letting anyone else use this terminals, then I don't really need to deactivate the UAC, right?
Depends sometimes, because there are things when in the internet, for in the programming, sometimes UAC is needed because you will be sharing and allowing. But for the meantime, let's just do that in order for XAMPP to be installed for the meantime. Okay? But
Should I try installing it without disabling anything first and see if it will work or not?
it's up to you.
I'll give it a shot. I'll
Okay,
try it.
go. Okay. So in here, when you select the path, just go to system variables path, and you can either edit or you can add new. Okay, and you just add your XAMPP PHP. Okay, and then apply and restart your computer. That's it. Simple as that. Okay, where else? We're done with that. We're done with this. Okay, yep. So we can close this now. And we can close this now. Okay. So going back. Okay. So we have made our views. Now, how can we call the one that we have made? Now, this one, you will do your PHP code. And where will you, in the first one, you will save it in the views, in the application folder, in CodeIgniter. But this time, you will put it in controllers, and you will name it as home.php. Now, these things are interrelated because sometimes you have to set your URL public base, and you have to know what is your default home, default index that you will be using. So I will be teaching you all of that, okay? Now, after this one, you will save now this one, PHP. You are extending, it's a class, your home. What does it include? It includes the CodeIgniter controller. So what will it do? It has a function. What is the function? The index. Where did you get the index? That is here. That is in your views. You are calling your index file, by which this will load the view. Okay, so what will be the output of this one? How will you run it? You will not press F5, you will not press anything. All you have to go to the URL. So how will you do that? So you can go for, it depends, this one, the localhost index. This one, the localhost, this is what is mostly for for XAMPP. It's a localhost, and the name of index.php, which is this one in your views and your home. So this is your controller file. So your output, since this is heading, that will be in your heading. And what is your title? Using views lesson. So if you're going to try this on your laptop, you first, again, make a text editor, using text editor, an index, the index name for PHP file, which consists of this one under views. So this is what will be your output. Now, in order for these views to be shown, you have to save it in the controllers, and by using this code. You're extending, you will be calling the index PHP to be shown where it is. Now, it is in the URL of local, your server is localhost.
Uh, Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
What is the use of actually creating both HTML and PHP? Like, why
Because
would I? Can't I do everything in PHP instead?
Anak, we are using CodeIgniter. This is just a small, okay? You can go directly because in CodeIgniter, as we will go along, you will see that everything is available. If you need any libraries or any code at all, it is just one code away. You will not need to type. It will be included already. So this is just
Oh,
the
so
basic. You understand?
the inclusion of HTML is just used as a function.
Example. Yeah. No, yes, also it's
So I'm only going to use HTML
no,
as a
no,
place where I call functions from, right?
no, you can use PHP. You can use this one. This one you can use here, echo. But since we want to put something in our web page, we views, remember, views are web page, okay? Or a page fragment like header, footer, or sidebar. So that's why we're using HTML. You understand? But later, this is just the first part, okay? And we have to do that in views. And in order for that to be shown, the web page, we have to put it in controller. This is how CodeIgniter, this is the structure of CodeIgniter. Okay?
Ah, so you write the body and the headers and everything else, like the wording. You write it in HTML and then you view it by using PHP?
Yes, po.
Ah, all right.
Okay?
Got it.
It is same
Thank you.
as a PHP anak. We can use HTML for index for PHP, right? So after that, we will now have this output. Now, you said you don't want HTML, then you can use the PHP using this one. Okay? This one, this is what we call passing data to view. So instead of just load view, we will be using view file name. What is the file name of that index and data? What is the data? For example, here, we have the controller. You just want PHP, echo greeting. The output is greeting, right? So in CodeIgniter, you will be using the data functionality where the name of your, whatever it is you want, and the file and what the content is. So what is the name of this file, the greeting? It's some page PHP. So you use some page and you include the data. So this is also done for array. So how is it done? So remember, this is for your, which one is for your view and which one is for your controller. So this one is for your controller, okay? The index before, it's just you have your title and it's passing view load index. So this is almost the same as this one, but the thing now is you have data. What is the content of data? The content of data is title. Now what is title? It is passing data to view. So how will I put it there? So instead of typing before, instead of typing title passing data view, I will be using PHP, which is title, echo title. Do you get it? You
Oh,
understand?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the output now, instead of before, it's using view lesson because you directly write it there, code it there. But this time we are passing using the data in here, which is for passing data to view. So now it's passing data. So you can do in here, the important here is you try to understand how it's done. For example, we use lists in here. So when we're going to be putting it in the controller, we have data production and products in here. So the same thing, do not forget the name of the file and the data, which you can put. This one is only one for passing data view, that is the title. But this one, you have product listing and you have for products. So in here, so what is the output in here? So this is now the output. Okay, so the important here is for you to understand that views, this will be your design. What is it you want your web page to look? And how are you going to output that in the controller? Okay, simple as that. So in here, you have URL, URL segment, you can read that. So in here, for function, the same thing, the URL you can write. So when you install, you can try all of this in the in your CodeIgniter. So sometimes you want to remove index.php. So this will be better explained if you already have your CodeIgniter. Okay? The interest in here is in programming is for you to understand the logic, the structure, how it's done, the syntax actually. When you know one programming language, it's just maybe 30 or 40% with the syntax, but still some are the same. Okay? So this one, we will do this when you have your CodeIgniter installed. So in here, this is the URI identifier, and we have the URL. You are only aware of URL, right? URL. So in here, we will be removing the index, that PHP, the index, the file. So this is how it's going to be done in here. Okay. So I will also teach you about the HT access file for the application, wherein you will have to do this one in order for it to work. Okay, in here. So that's it. Next time, I hope that I will be following your progress, how it's going to be done. Okay. So you finish with XAMPP, you finish with PHP, and if it's better, you have your SQL, MySQL, or whatever, MySQL Lite, or whatever you have, so that because we will be working on database also. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you next week.